Hello everyone, welcome to the barn where we party hard but hustle harder. Before we start today's video, we have a disclaimer for you all. We are not condoning the use of drugs at all. Personally, I haven't tried any of the substances I'm going to be mentioning in today's video except marijuana. And we're just using scientific research and objectively analyzing history to give you the facts as they are without trying to be biased with our opinions. Of course, we'll give our opinions of certain aspects here and there, but you have to obey the laws in your country as they're there to protecting everyone, and it comes down to bigger issues such as rape and abortion. So if it's illegal and you want it to be legalized, there's a channel through which you can do that. But this video is not for you to going out and saying the government is messed up, we must change all this. It's for you to be educated that these substances are out there and what they can do for your body. Today's video, you're going to know everything you need to know about psychedelics. To start with, we must differentiate between what is a narcotic and what is a psychedelic. Now, a narcotic is where you can form a chemical addiction to it such that your life is dependent on it. However, with psychedelics, all that happens is a series of chemical reactions occur in the brain, and everything that you perceive as reality is a result of chemical reactions. From the light you see, the sounds you hear, what you taste. Now, when a chemical reaction occurs in the brain, where inhibitors are either blocked or made to function more than usual, what happens is your perception on reality changes. During these changes, very profound things can happen for you. Reason number one is when you realize that there's a reality beyond this fear that we have, it really makes you realize how little you know about the universe, and as much as you think you know the way things work, it's not really the case. And second of all, by having a different perspective on the universe as a whole, you're able to come up with more insightful ideas because you're only looking at this three-dimensional world as it presented to you, but what if you could see so much more? Proof that people have had profound experiences with this is such as Lewis Carroll when he released his entire book Alice in Wonderland, going over a world through a psychedelic trip. Number two, let's look at a famous scientist, Albert Einstein. He has openly proven to be sane that he has solved relativity due to experiences he's had during psychedelic trips. Steve Jobs, he came up with the Mach 1 during a psychedelic trip, at least some of the design aspects. Musicians such as A$AP Rocky, they've used these substances to enhance the level at which the brain works. To further exemplify this, everything who you are today is a series of memories that have occurred, right? From your childhood days to your adolescent days, right? And that's why you are the way you are. So when you go on a psychedelic trip, when you come out, you remember those experiences, and those alternative experiences are able to shape your life for the future. Now, to understand psychedelics a bit further, let's go into the history of them. Now, every single culture on earth has been using psychedelics for decades to come, such as the Amazonian people using ayahuasca, the Indian people using daiquiri, and African tribes using certain roots and shrooms that get them into psychedelic trances. So much so that our body has evolved into having these receptors available for us. There's a whole cannabinoid system dedicated to getting you the high that you get on a marijuana trip. So if I ask you this simply, if these substances were not meant to be put in human bodies, why did God give them to us in the natural green environment, A? And B, why did our body evolve into accepting them and processing them? To further exemplify my argument as to why the psychedelics are not as bad as humans perceive them to be, and people call you a drug addict when you take them, someone is willing to take alcohol, which can completely shut down their brain or temporarily even freeze it, right? Or when you get sick, you take a painkiller. The way that painkiller goes, it bombards that entire area like a nuclear bomb inside your body, destroying everything in sight. Now those are drugs that we're willing to put in our body, but because the society has stigmatized it and made it seem like it's legal, we suddenly have no issues with it. But these chemicals that have given people very big insights, suddenly we're demonizing it? I think that's foolish. To further exemplify how foolish this is, let's look at how psychedelics became illegal. It happened around the Vietnam War when President Nixon was in power. Now, the hippie movement were using psychedelics a lot. You know how the 60s were with hippies taking it all the time. And they started protesting in the name of peace. Now, of course, America doesn't want that, right? Because war brings in money. So suddenly, a news article occurred where someone who was apparently on a psychedelic trip jumped out of a window. Without analyzing the situation further and doing further scientific research, the government was able to oppress on these psychedelics to shut down the power of the hippie movement. America, being the superpower of the West, when they do something, the rest of the world slowly decriminalized these psychedelics, and hence further research was not allowed to be done. As a society, we were just brainwashed into thinking these things are bad for you, you cannot use them, even though our ancestors have been using them. In certain religious texts such as the Bible, the Gita, the Quran, psychedelics have been talked about, and how these roots, such as the burning bush with Moses, it's just a euphemism as some scholars may perceive. Now, without getting too religious, as that was not the aim of this video, we are not saying that go out and take psychedelics because you can have these profound experiences. In fact, we're saying the opposite. The government should legalize it so that scientific research can be done into how much of this substance should be put in a human body in a very studied and controlled environment so that we can reap its full benefits. Just like with anything, too much can be fatal, too little may not give you the effects, but they can study and get us that optimum amount. When geopolitical issues cause for scientific research to be stopped, now it's only the time when us as Gen Z, we're coming in and realizing the issues connotated with these drugs, hence we're able to now start research and further on it. So what we suggest is, okay, we can't dwell on the past, what's being done, but government should actively start investing into these substances as they can evolve us into a race of more empathetic, more intelligent human beings as our ancestors were doing. Finally, before I conclude this podcast, I want to talk a little bit about marijuana. Now, I know this is a controversial topic, and if you're against it, you can click away as these videos are not meant for everyone. I've personally used marijuana, and what I can tell you is in the time, my entire family will advocate for this. I had severe anger issues, which are like negligible today, that no one can even say that I'm an angry person. That being said, my video of Kwanzaa rally today, I apologize to my audience, may have been misleading, as I do not encourage the use of drugs recreationally, simply because these are tools that I use for profound spiritual experiences, and by using them recreationally, we're treating it like toys. And there has been a phase in my life where I did abuse marijuana, and I was using it daily to the point it may have been inhibiting my function, and I was using these spiritual experiences you can get from it as an excuse to justify my use of a substance. I reached a point before I was able to do anything creative, I was like, this substance will help me get creative ideas. That's what makes me come to say, the way I say psychedelics should be used, they should be used for experimentative purposes to see a reality which we cannot perceive. But they are by no means used to be used daily or be the pure source of your inspiration and your peace. You should be able to generate those experiences naturally after having experienced a world where this was a possibility, and then now taking those experiences and using them in your real life. Just like I believe you can go to any party and enjoy without using any substance such as alcohol and drugs and have a better time than everyone who's there because you're in control of your body. The final thing I want to talk about is, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, you have these cannabinoid receptors in your body. Your body is able to process certain levels of DMT, as I've talked about, which cause the altered states of mind, such as with ayahuasca. But how, the true reason these are in our bodies, did you know you can release all these psychedelics naturally? Yes, through mindful practice such as meditation. And I'll even explain it scientifically. Leave the juju spiritual stuff for a moment, which I believe in personally, but that's not the direction I want to take this video. So there's a certain gland, I forget the name, that's right under your stomach. And in ancient Indian breathing, there's a way in which you take your breath such as to constantly breathe and push on that gland. By constantly practicing this sort of meditation, you're able to secrete these hormones that cause these altered states of mind naturally. As a result, with the Bond, we not only focus on the business side of things, but the spiritual and mental wellness. As I mentioned earlier this week, we're going to have videos, a boot camp released for mental health and awareness, which I believe is important. But we also believe that through meditation, you're able to train this biggest asset you have to be completely unstoppable. So we're going to teach you some of the secret ancient meditation techniques from Chinese, Indian, Himalayan, South American, African, you name it, cultures, special breathing techniques and mindfulness practices that you can use in your everyday life to become the unstoppable beast God made you to be. Anyways guys, this video has been quite long. I think I dove well into the history of psychedelics and how they have the ability to be profound without giving you an excuse to abuse them. If you found this video educational and informative, hit the subscribe and push bell notification buttons for videos every single weekday. Yeah, you heard me right. I create these videos for you absolutely for free every single weekday, and all you have to do is hit those buttons. It's been a great episode guys, and for now, peace.